Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Alex Flood. The Scotties Tournament of Hearts has come to an end this evening at the Fort William Gardens as Thunder Bay's Krista McCarville and Team Northern Ontario faced back-to-back champ Carrie Anderson, and Team Canada. Ryan Bonazzo will have the championship recap for you shortly. And there's some key items on the agenda for Thunder Bay City Council to deal with tomorrow night, including the ratification of the 2022 budget. Along with that, a report will be discussed surrounding the conduct of Councillor Aldo Roberto. The Integrity Commissioner looked at a social media post from the councillor after a truck drove through a tent at a local homeless encampment in October. The post had Roberto stating he hoped the actual cause was wind that blew the tent into the truck, sparking criticism from those saying he should not speculate about an ongoing investigation. Roberto has said he strongly disagrees with the report and will address the issue at the meeting. Also on the agenda is another step in the Victoriaville Centre demolition. Council will be voting whether or not to award the $1.1 million consulting contract to KGS Group. The firm would plan and manage the $9 million demolition, which is expected to begin in 2023. As we slowly start seeing hints of spring-like weather, the City of Thunder Bay is beginning to prepare for pothole season. But the Roads Division will have to make do without the services of its Python 5000 pothole filling machine for at least a few more weeks. The $360,000 machine from 2017 has become an essential tool for road maintenance. Unfortunately, the Python has been out of service for several months while it waits for an important and hard-to-find part to come in. Roads Division Supervisor Ian Spaldrick believes the machine should be repaired and ready come pothole season, but there are alternatives.
I just spoke with our mechanics today, and they said we do have the part now, which is great news, and we're hoping to get it up and running in the next couple of weeks. As soon as the roads are clear enough from snow and ice that we can start filling potholes, we'll start doing that operation. We still do have crews out doing potholes when weather permits, and same for in the spring and in the summer. We do have our crews going out manually filling potholes.
The manual process involves workers tamping down asphalt into potholes using shovels. The Python 5000 can carry about 5 tons of asphalt and has the ability to patch long cracks and depressions in city streets. The latest return to near normalcy might lengthen the time it takes for a return to the actual norm. The district's medical officer of health says cases of COVID-19 could rise due to the reopening of restaurants, arenas, and other spaces. And Dr. Janet DeMille says getting kids back in the class last month may be why cases are as high as they currently are. Corey Nordstrom reports.
The recent reopening of restaurants, gyms, and sports facilities had been long awaited by many, but the local medical officer says there is a chance cases could rise again as a result. The MOH in the neighboring Northwestern Health Unit is expecting more COVID spread with the reopenings. Dr. Janet DeMille agrees it's possible, but will wait and see over the next week or two.
Anything that results in people interacting more with one another can result in case numbers increasing. And that's just because, we've all been kind of limiting what we're doing, limiting significantly our contacts.
A local peak of the Omicron wave was identified to have taken place at the end of the second week in January. Cases haven't fallen dramatically since that time, leaving the medical officer questioning the reasons why.
I did wonder, for example, if the reopening of schools actually was why we maintained a plateau instead of declining.
DeMille knows it's just a what if, but says there's validity in her question.
If schools had remained closed, it's hard to say because schools they have a lot of measures to reduce transmission within the school setting. So it's a relatively safe place for children to be. But at the same time, it's still children interacting with others and there can be spread.
Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
The lives of both children and seniors in the Kenora area are about to improve significantly following several announcements from Kenora Rainy River MPP Greg Rickford this past week. A new park is planned for construction on an area First Nation, and another park will receive improved access. Additionally, a community paramedicine program aims to relieve stress from the hospital and long-term care homes in the area. Adam Riley has more.
It may just be an empty field now on the Wishishkanigam First Nation, but very soon it will become a hub of community activity, following an announcement by Kenora Rainy River MPP Greg Rickford of $395,000 through the Ontario Trillium Fund. Chief Chris Skeed says since being re-elected as chief, he believes he must do everything he can for his community. He calls this an investment for the children.
At the end of the day, I think each kid should have a very happy childhood, and I know this construction here in behind me here is the area that we're looking at actually have a lot of good plans for, working with our education department, specifically the Jordan's principal.
In addition to a playground, the project will also include a skate park and basketball court located beside the community center. Meanwhile, in Kenora at the Norman Park, Rickford announced another $269,000 to revamp the park and make it fully accessible. Mayor Dan Reynard says the city has eyed a project like this for some time and is excited to see it come together, as he believes it will break new ground in the region.
The project will start once the snow starts melting, which hopefully will be earlier because we've all had enough of -40, and it will be in place. So as far as we know, it's definitely going to be the first fully accessible park in Kenora for sure. We believe in northwestern Ontario.
Reynard expects the project to be complete for 2023. On Tuesday, Rickford also announced an expansion of the community paramedicine program in Kenora, similar to an announcement he made in Fort Frances last year. He says it will offer many different services handled by paramedics to improve life for older residents.
It services the Indigenous communities local to us as well, helping to keep seniors and elders in their homes as long as they want to, and of course reducing the premature transition into alternative levels of care facilities and or the hospital. So we believe this is the new frontier of delivering health.
Rickford continued his tour of the region with stops in Mayshon to announce improvements for the Woodland Arena and infrastructure announcements to the Dryden Fire Services Hall No. 2, worth $90,000 and $91,000 respectively, through the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation, of which Rickford is the chair of. Adam Riley, TBT News.
Magnus Theatre has announced it's taking over the stewardship of the popular Thunder Bay 10x10 Festival. The annual showcase for short plays began in the city 9 years ago. It brings together local playwrights, directors, and actors to create and produce 10 different plays that are each 10 minutes long. The festival was performed outdoors for the first time this summer due to COVID restrictions. Up until then, it was performed on a variety of indoor stages, including at Magnus since 2018. Magnus has now taken over the creative direction, which will allow the project to grow. Director of Theatre and Education Program Jordan Blaxill says having Magnus take over feels like a natural extension of the work done by the original organizers of 10x10.
To be able to take the reins of it here at Magnus, it is very exciting, and we've got some exciting plans on how we can grow and develop the festival, especially considering that the next year is the 10th anniversary of 10x10, so we have some plans in the works to make that one extra special.
Anyone interested in directing should apply by March 2nd, while residents interested in submitting a play must send it in by March 13th. More information can be found on the Magnus Theatre website. With last year's ice racing series canceled due to the pandemic and this year's series postponed, drivers were finally able to head back on the track for the first race of the season. Mitchell Ringos has the story.
Just like that, the community favorite ice racing series was back, with 18 riders signed up for this year's season. Fans were not in attendance today or will be the rest of the season, as due to restrictions, the event is limited to drivers' teams, 4 extra members per team, and necessary support staff and volunteers. Thunder Bay Auto Sport Club president Gary Adamko says everyone was down about last year's cancellation and there was fear of the same outcome this year, but says they did everything possible to make sure races went ahead.
We just really couldn't see going through another year of not having the sport available to our members and just letting everybody get back behind the wheel and feeling, I guess, that, again, that little piece of normal.
And riders were thrilled to be back out racing, even if it meant no fans, especially on a new track. The riders we spoke to said they definitely needed to get some rust off in the first race, but were just happy to be back on the ice once again for the rest of the series.
Yeah, I'm so pumped this year. The track has been awesome. There's some big sweeps in there, so it makes it super fun. And then it's kind of like the family's back here, so it's exciting.
And this year we missed the first couple months. Well, the first month, I shouldn't say couple. But it kind of showed when I went out there. I ran into a snowbank, and it took a little while to get going. I shouldn't have passed anybody. It was the first time on a racetrack, and the tracks are always different.
The season is much shorter this year with only 5 races in total, which Adamco says was due to the late start and restrictions, but is hoping for the 2023 season everything can be back to normal.
We're just hoping to have the fans come back out in 2023, and we'd like to thank all of our partners that have worked with us over the years, and look forward again in 2023.
And after a successful first race and riders figuring out what works and doesn't work on the brand new track, they will be back on February 13th for their second race of the season. Mitchell Ringos, TBT News.
Well, happy to be joined with Ryan Bonazzo. And Ryan, speaking of races, the race for the championship at tonight's Scotties Tournament of Hearts was alive and well.
Absolutely. This is what everyone has been waiting for a number of years now. And we had it, Krista McCarville in the finals, looking to become the first Scotties champion to represent Northern Ontario. We'll have all the highlights after the break.